Hello, everyone. We hope that we are finding you all safe and healthy. And welcome to the first installment of the Big Data and AI webinar series. So we see a lot of people are logging in now. So we're just going to wait about 1 minute to make sure everybody's in. A lot of the people are coming in right now, which is fantastic. All right, perfect. Looks like everyone's in. Our speakers are in. Perfect.
Hello.
We're going to jump in. Hello, John. So for starters, thank you again for coming to our first installment of the Big Data and AI webinar series. We'll be hosting new webinars every Thursday at 2 p.m. for the foreseeable future. And today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on the modern approach to big data. We've got two amazing speakers for you guys today. First on the docket is John Palazzolo. He is the Sales Engineering Director at Snowflake. And second, we'll be hearing from Inessa Gerber, who's the Director of Product Management at Denodo. If you have any questions for the speakers, please submit them in the Q&A tab. Located on the right-hand side. The speakers will address all questions at the end of their presentation. So we're going to jump in now. John, you look like you're all set and ready. So
all ready to go.
Boot up your slides here. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, so we're going to pass things off to John, and he's going to get us started.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Pleasure joining the webinar today, and hopefully you'll find some value out of it. I'm John Palazzolo, and I manage the Eastern Canadian sales engineering team for Snowflake. Snowflake Canada has evolved over the past 2 years from 4 customers initially to now over 70 customers. So I'm excited to be joining the Snowflake team and moving on through this journey, and hopefully I'll make some new friends and contacts here, and we can share our experiences. But a little bit about me. I've been in tech for about 20 years now. I started out in the midst of IT, and then jumped into technical sales for the past 15 years or so. And inside of that technical sales viewpoint, I've seen a lot of waves of different technologies. And when I got the opportunity to come and join Snowflake, I jumped over it. Right? It was and is still today a disruptive technology. It's really taken the benefits of can everybody hear me, or can everybody hear me? Anybody? Can I get a mic check? I'm getting somebody saying no sound.
You're good, John.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So Snowflake being a disruptive technology, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to jump over to Snowflake was because of what I've heard in the marketplace about them. Being cutting edge, right? Leveraging the cloud to all of its benefits is phenomenal, and you'll see some of that come to bear in my presentation, and just the transformational benefits of encompassing all of your data and being able to make these strategic decisions. So it's a little bit about me and the genesis of why I wanted to jump over to Snowflake. And this rapid move to the cloud and being able to see the countless examples of what data meant to customers, right? In my journey and through the companies that I've been at, data has been at the core of what all of these companies have been able to do either to make very very important to us all. And as we're moving through this time period, arguably data is going to be the most valuable asset that one is going to have within their company. And we're seeing that the rise of these new technologies are changing how we get our ability to actually access data. So the rise of the cloud, right? This unlimited amount of storage, this unlimited amount of compute power that's at our disposal is phenomenal to us. And how do we embrace that and make the best use out of it? And Snowflake has been able to take advantage of that. The explosion of data, if you just think about all of the applications that you've touched today, on average, I think they say there's about 6 SaaS-based applications each individual user touches on a day-to-day basis. And then, when we think about a company of 1,000 people or more, there's 200 SaaS-based that you still, had a very hard time managing all of this information. And Snowflake, because it has the ability to be born in the cloud, has taken into thought these semi-structured data types. And the diversification of the analytics, or the democratization of data, allowing everyone to be able to make decisions on your data, has been very trying up until this particular point in time. So Snowflake, it's been around since 2012. We spent 3 years in development. We came out of development and went GA. And the 5 years later, we're at 3,400 customers, and we're continually adding customers every quarter. Our growth has been phenomenal. Being part of this company and seeing how fast we are growing is nothing like I've ever seen before, and it's exciting to be a part of. The market is getting behind us. We're seen as leaders in the marketplace, and we're navigating the path forward, not from just a traditional data warehouse, but what does a cloud data platform look like? And one of our first instances was really replacing legacy data warehouses and cloud first data warehouses, which was basically the old being ported into the cloud. Our mission is really about making every organization to be data driven. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but a really hard goal to actually achieve with that. But allowing you to make bigger or better, quicker business decisions is a difficult task at hand, but Snowflake allows you to wrap your arms around all of your data, and you'll be able to see all data types can sit within Snowflake itself. Secondly, reducing the cost of your data platform has been very difficult up until Snowflake. And you will be able to see that within the Snowflake architecture, the sort of the secret sauce behind it, it allows you to take complexity out of your environments, simplify that, and also be able to deliver, better data business insights at a cheaper cost as well. And then ultimately being able to provide a great customer experience. That customer experience could be internal, or it could be external to your particular customers themselves. So lots of great things that you can do when you're born for the cloud, thought of the cloud first. And this journey for Snowflake, or where our co-founders are legacy Oracle Exadata co-founders, and from there they recognized the shortcomings of what a traditional on-premise enterprise data warehouse was to be. Their business plan originally went up to Larry Ellison to revamp how they should bring Oracle into this new world. And it was shut to the side, and so they basically packed up into Snowflake. So they knew about the shortcomings of the traditional enterprise data warehouses. It was great for the time, right? But it didn't allow you to have all of your data in one place because it was costly. It was expensive to do so. All of your users, well, you're going to get performance impacts, right? There's concurrency issues that you're going to run into, resource contention issues that you'll run into. But it did provide you with fast answers, right? And a lot of our skill upon SQL was taking your enterprise data warehouses that were on-prem and just making them available up in this cloud platform. And you'll see with these first-gen cloud systems, there's a lot of automation that happens behind the scenes in order to make it look cloud ready and cloud agile. But you still have a lot of the shortcomings that you did have within the first gen of the on-prem clouds. And because we couldn't put all of our data inside of one platform, being the enterprise data warehouse, the data lake came to be, right? Your S3 buckets, your Azure buckets, your GC buckets, your Hadoop applications themselves. But you could put into them, but what information? Easy to get answers from that information. And obviously the slide builds over to Snowflake. We do it all. We're going to allow you to have all your data inside of Snowflake, as many users as you want to get over that resource contention, if you will. Provide you really fast answers, right? One of our benefits is the performance that we provide you, leveraging this unlimited amount of essential horsepower that we can throw at it. And petabytes of information sitting underneath the management of Snowflake itself is phenomenal, and we can do that in fast and rapid fashion. And last but not least, SQL access, right? This is a readily available skill that allows you to gain access to the information without hiring, professionals that are that come at a high cost, right? SQL is a baseline language that lot of us know how to speak. Just to sum up some of the ways that we can think about it, this may or may not be what your architecture looks like, but in general, it is a complex ecosystem that you're working on, right? From all of the data sources that you have to the decisions that you make on ETL or ELT, for example. Where do you store the data? How do you access that data? Making siloed islands of information inside of your data marts. Backups, for example, become very costly and time consuming to manage. And then being able to allow your end users to be able to access this information. It's a complex ecosystem, and it's an expensive ecosystem to be managing and maintaining. And with Snowflake, if you're able to put all of your data into one application, Snowflake that is, allow us to leverage the cloud to all of its benefits, and put different types of workloads against petabytes of information, Snowflake's going to be able to provide this for you. So you can reduce the complexity of your ecosystem, allow you to run a multitude of different workloads, from traditional data warehouse workloads to your data lake workloads to building on top of data applications. At the core, we are an OLAP system. Okay, that's where we have been growing up from, and that's what we're going to continue to do. But the more data that you can put into Snowflake, the better that you're going to be, the better the governance model is going to be, the cheaper your ecosystem of what you have to manage is really going to be. And honestly, the complexity that goes into it is far going to come down the chain itself. So all in all, we think it's a win-win situation where we're taking complexity out and giving you a lot of benefit from it. We deploy across a multitude of clouds: GCP, AWS, Azure, these public clouds. We make the best out of these particular clouds that we can be, this unlimited storage, unlimited compute capabilities. But you can choose to deploy on one of these clouds or all of these clouds, and we call that global Snowflake. So you have choice on where you deploy and how you deploy, and based upon this, we leverage what we call this multi-clustered shared data architecture of these, which is the secret sauce across these clouds. So we separate storage from compute, and in doing so, this is sort of the behind the scenes look of what Snowflake is. We make use of readily available storage, blob storage that is, in these clouds. So you can have access to petabytes of information. And what we've done is we've separated our storage from our compute layer, allowing you to have multiple, what we call virtual warehouses in that blue area there, accessing the same data at the same time. You can have one warehouse running for your ETL job at the same time you have your business users accessing that near real-time information coming in. Or maybe it's your executives that you need to be able to give additional horsepower to. We have the ability to scale out and up as needed in order to satisfy your performance needs, right? Breaking down those barriers of resource contention that you may have. We have examples of customers hitting the, thousands of queries coming into the system at the exact same time and being able to still satisfy that in the millisecond range of query performance. So of each of these virtual warehouses up and out that we can provide. And we're really isolating each of these workloads independently from each other. So now you're not just limited to 50 users hitting the system. You can really get up to thousands of users hitting the system very easily without any resource contention happening. And then when we look at the light green there or the teal color is the brains of the system, right? This is how all of this is a secret sauce, if you will. It's around optimization. We claim ourselves to be near zero management, right? So you don't need to prune or tune or index the system itself. It is self-tuning, right? There's the autonomous layer that's the brains of the system that takes advantage of it. We're ACID compliant, so we're going to be able to guarantee delivery of every transaction. Security, from the first stitch of code that was written, as we knew back in 2012, what was this thing the cloud was going to be? We wrapped in security right from the get-go. So TLS 1.2 security, data paths are encrypted throughout the system itself. TLS 1.2 encryption at the top of things, and when we put data inside the system as well, we are also going to compress that data. Key to the fundamentals of the system here as well. Being able to, we can take a petabyte of data, for example, and we can clone it in a second. And we do this through metadata operations. Backup and dev environments are done in seconds with near zero impact to your actual data sizes themselves. So petabytes of information can be cloned, and it's a metadata operation for us. It's not a full-blown replication of petabytes of data. And sharing and collaboration. We have live, secure sharing capabilities that allow you to share data in real time with your customer and be able to have it and what have. And once again, running on top of all of these different cloud providers. And to really come to an end here, we're a single platform with a single copy of data that can handle all of your workloads. We really provide unlimited performance and scale for you. It's secure and it's governed, right? You put more information in here, the better the security, the better the governance becomes. And we do pride ourselves on it as being a close to near zero management system as possible. And with that, right, there's a multitude of different types of workloads that we can provide on top of Snowflake, from data warehousing to data engineering to being your data lake, and running different types of data applications, the ability to exchange data from our ecosystem across any cloud, sort of that global data cloud, if you will, and then running your data science applications on top of it as well. So with that, there was a poll question that we'll put up. How would you envision using your Snowflake? How would you envision using Snowflake for your organization? I know there was a lot of information to cover, and hopefully, it was rapid movement and it all made sense. Uh, uh, but if you can, and we'll get back to those that result there. But as I round down, right, the impact of Snowflake, productivity goes up, scalability, performance. We're making use of the cloud from elastic perspective, and then obviously the economics have to make sense. So we are really cheaper and better to be running. But with that, I will pass it back and hand it over.
All right, thank you so much, John. Fantastic presentation. We do have a question.
Yes.
One question we're getting from Dina is, what are some best practices to evaluate the different cloud platforms? Google versus AWS versus Azure versus a combination of them?
Yes. So, it's a great question, and I think there's an internal battle that happen inside of organizations. One of the ways that I look at it from a Snowflake perspective, GCP or Google, for example, has been great for data science services, is what I'm seeing out there, and that's how people are sort of leaning in at least the conversations that I speak with. But if you would like to follow up with me, I can give you a little bit more information on some of the nuances around that, because it is kind of a broad statement that I made, but hopefully it gives a little bit of guidance.
Awesome. Okay. Our next question comes from Kiadi. Can you please tell us more about the skills one can acquire to solve big data problems if you're a new graduate?
Sure. So there is a great resource to go to. It's called Snowflake University, and it is a free service that as long as you sign up with, you're going to be able to gain access to it. And Snowflake University will take you through sort of these different layers in order for you to get better acquainted with that. And if you look at our at the Snowflake website as well, there's other events that we have, that kind of experiences that our customers are having with their big data challenges, with their data warehouse challenges. And in Canada specifically, actually next week, we have a set of, we're calling it Canada Data Unites, where we have 3 customer speakers coming on and speaking about all of the ways that they've used Snowflake to transform their data platform.
Awesome. Fantastic information there. And we have time for one last question from Hassan. I think he's asking for a comparison here between MongoDB versus Snowflake.
Yes. Yeah. So, at a very high level, Snowflake is an OLAP system meant for analytics, and it really services a couple of different data types, for example. So structured and semi-structured is where, so JSON, XML, Avro, ORC, Parquet, your standard structured data types as well. That's where we address, and then a MongoDB would be. Hopefully that helps. And once again, we can provide my email, and I can follow up with you for some additional answers.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, John. Fantastic presentation. And thank you to the audience for your questions. We are going to move on now to our next speaker, Inessa Gerber. Inessa Gerber, again, is the Director of Product Management at Denodo. And she'll be talking about modernizing data access in the big data world. All right. Inessa, have you joined us? Just give her a second to log on here.
As we're waiting, if there's any other questions that I can maybe field, I'm more than happy to.
Sure. Yeah, we had one question. Just want to make sure, Inessa, if you are talking, you are muted right now. Perhaps that's been an issue. Okay, so in the meantime, John, why don't you answer this question? If you have any advice for SMEs that are looking to become more data-driven and cloud native, but lack the budget.
Kim, just checking, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Yeah, sorry guys, had some mic issues.
Okay, perfect. John, you can answer that question at the end if you'd like. Nessa, perfect.
All right, thank you guys. I'm sorry for some technical difficulties. So to give you a little bit of the background, I spent the last 18 years working in a data management space. I held multiple roles from the solutions architecture to product and project management. And currently I'm working in a great company, Denodo, which is a data visualization company. And today we'll be talking about data visualization and how it can modernize your data access. So a little bit of the background. Denodo is a pure player in data virtualization. And essentially, data virtualization enables you to create that virtual abstraction layer between your sources and your consumers. And we'll go into the data architecture in a couple of slides. But we're a pure player. We're growing in a very expanded pace. We're challengers in the Gartner Quadrant. We're in Forrester Wave. We have many, many names, and I strongly encourage you to actually go to our website and review some of the customer use cases. So let's talk about data virtualization as it comes across multiple spaces. One of the things that I will talk today is more concentrated around the big data, because that's the topic. But data virtualization also plays a big role in your MDM projects, BI analytics. It's all about exposing data to your consumers in a unified, governed approach across your multiple sources. So today we'll be talking about the big data, and let's look at some of the requirements for the modern data fabric. And data fabric is something I hear constantly in the industry now. Before it used to be data management, now it's all about data fabric. It's all about the ability to linking multiple data sources together without replication while still providing governed approach. So what are the users looking for? They're looking for fast and accurate decision making. They need data to be rendered to them immediately, and they need to ensure that the data is current, that the data is trusted. It's all about getting data value from your data assets. Also, they want to reduce the IT costs. We see many clients moving into the cloud environment. However, during that move, there is a time where you see hybrid environments, cloud plus some on-prem, plus some older Excel, plus some older mainframe systems. There is desperate systems out there. It's not all about moving into a cloud in a week. It takes time. So this is actually where data virtualization comes in. And before we start talking about data virtualization, let's talk about data lakes. Data lakes are amazing. They play a huge role in a big data world. They're great, they're easy to set up, but initial investment also comes with the questionable ROI. Because when you have systems on-prem, in the cloud, and you're trying to create a data lake, you have to take many things into account. You don't want to just move all the data over. You don't want to just replicate. You need to do it smartly. You don't want to create your data swamp. You want it to be a trusted data source for all of your needs. And that takes time. Time is money. So when you're getting questioned on how is the budgeting going, what is the ROI for a specific project, it's hard to justify in the initial stages of the project. Also, you have to keep governance on top of your priority list. it's all about data consistency. If you're pushing data from multiple data sources into your data lake, which data is the correct data? Do you need to standardize? Do you need to apply data quality rules? Who has access to your data? Do you need data masking? What is the security integration layer? Are you using Active Directory? Are you using cloud providers? What data security layer are you applying? Also, one of the more technical aspects of moving things into a data lake is some sources, for instance, like Oracle, they have optimizations on the data source layer, which you cannot propagate into a data lake. So some sources are unique, and when you have your data lake environment, you might still want to utilize some of the optimizations available on the physical data source. So it's not all black and white, I'm going to move everything into my data lake. You have to balance things. So let's look at how data virtualization plays a role. So if you look at data virtualization, and it can sit at multiple layers, but this is the common use case. Essentially, Denodo, data virtualization layer, provides that abstraction layer, that semantics layer, between your virtual data warehouses, your data lakes, your MDM systems, your traditional data systems, your Excels, your API-driven systems, SAP, whatever is out there. Instead of consumers connecting to data sources directly, they're going through data virtualization layer. What this enables you to do is grow your infrastructure without the consumer realizing the change. So for instance, if you have some of the sources in a traditional data warehouse and you're slowly moving things into a data lake, Snowflake, or anything out there, your consumer is oblivious to the fact that things are happening. All they care about is that they're accessing customer information or supply information or some other information, but where the data is coming from, they don't care. It comes to them, it's curated, and it comes to them on the API which they're requesting, be that JDBC, RESTful APIs, ODBC. Essential data virtualization provides that connect to anything, create multi-level semantic layer, and expose governed data services to your other application, that can be systems, to your BI tools, to your analytics tools, to your data scientists, everything in a unified fashion, fully governed, fully monitored. So this is just a statement from Gartner, which I like to use, that, and we'll see if it's true or not. It still has a couple of years to go, but essentially 60% of organizations are going to go into the data virtualization. And we do see a very rapid growth in data virtualization, specifically because there are too many systems out there and moving everything into the cloud might not be feasible. So you have your on-prem, you have cloud, you have some traditional sources, you have some Excel documents floating around. So data virtualization, again, enables you to have the centralized abstraction layer. So it gives you that immediate access to your data sources. And one key differentiator here, this is not an ETL tool. This is not your ESB. We are not copying data. When the request comes into the data virtualization layer, it's being optimized. We have many optimizations, from caching to query optimizations to doing push down to actually use the sources optimization, if applicable. And we get live data from your sources or from the cache, depending on the request, and render it to the consumer. So you can easily add additional data source and expand on the data assets without the consumer knowing and without you needing to copy or replicate any data. It's live data, it's getting rendered from your data source. This is not replication. As you render information, it's obviously fully secure. There is integration with the data governance frameworks. It has full data lineage. You can also integrate with other providers such as Calibra. So it gives you that full data lineage and data governance. Performance is critical, and we have many optimizations which can be done at different layers. So we can do aggregate push down, where the source is actually performing some of the operations. We can use Asina. We can use any of the engines out there to optimize the performance. So there are many technical aspects, and there's a lot of information. There is a big community out there. There's lots of useful information which you can look into, or you can always reach out to us. You can reach out to me, and I will get you some of the useful information for specifics that you see here. Now let's talk about the data scientist. This is the typical data scientist lifecycle. However, they spend most of the time on gathering the data and figuring out what data assets they have. It's all about, get me the right data. Is it the correct data? How do I get it? And data virtualization provides a couple of mechanisms, not only for data scientists, but for any BI or self-service user, to actually go into our data catalog and browse for data assets. If it's easy for you to find a data asset, you can get value out of your data much quicker. So we will actually provide you with a data catalog, which gives you accessibility based on your authentication authorization. And actually, you can see the metadata, and you can get the actual data from your data. Where the data is coming from, you don't really care. It can be coming from your SAP system, Oracle, Snowflake. It can be coming from anywhere. We're giving you that unified view into all of your data assets. And for the data scientist, we give you the one-click integration with the data scientist application, such as I'm using Zeppelin Notebook here. But essentially, again, it's a single point of entry. And if you're authorized, you have your notebook link. You click on the notebook link, and your notebook opens up, and you have access to all of your data at your fingertips. You don't need to go to 20 different applications. Everything is there for you. You can run it on the cloud. You can run it on-prem. You can run it on hybrid. It can run anywhere. Very easy to use. And again, it has a very large community. However, I really think it's the best practice to actually use the products instead of just talking about products. So I highly encourage everyone to go and take Denodo for the test drive. There is actually a specific test drive for the data scientists as well as others, but you actually get a trial version, and you can play around with the product, and you can actually see how everything is working together. I think hands-on experience is critical, and it's key to seeing if the product meets your requirements. Also, do look at our Denodo community. It's an amazing community. It has so much information. It has great documentation, and it's very easy to find all the information. We have an extensive success stories list. Again, if you go to the website, you can browse, you can see videos, you can see architecture diagrams of different types of deployments. Again, data virtualization is all about giving you access to your data assets, live data, not copied data, but actual live data, which is rendered based on your request. So if your consumer is the BI application, or if it's some end user, or if it's another system, maybe it's an ESB system, which needs to get information now, instead of going to the sources which might change, they go to the virtual layer, and virtual layer presents the information based on the request in a fully optimized and governed fashion. So this is it. I think I'm done in my 15 minutes, so we can open for questions.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Inessa. Our first question today goes to Fakiri. They are asking what to do in such a case where you are unable to determine the ROI, budget, etc.
First, obviously, you can start with the trial version, but also the benefit of Denodo is that you can start small. You can start with the simple 2-course system, you can start virtualizing just few of the systems. You can show the value, and then you can grow. So it's not like something that you need to do a big investment up front. It's actually something that you can grow as you expand.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question comes from Hassan. He's asking for a comparison between Tableau and Denodo.
Well, this is an easy one. Tableau is data visualization for most part. Denodo is data virtualization, and we specialize in that. We actually have tight integration with Tableau. So in our data catalog, you will actually see a button for Tableau where we can push our connection information to Tableau, and then you can use Tableau as your BI environment. But instead of going to the sources, you're actually going to the data virtualization layer.
All right. The next one comes from Kiati. How do you join the community? Is it?
You don't have to join the community. You can just search for Denodo community. Some of the areas just require your email, but you don't need to be the client. You can browse all of the information, and you can actually download the trial version right from the Denodo website.
Perfect. Easy peasy. Next, is data virtualization a recommended approach for companies needing agile data integration?
So when we talk about data integration, there are different integration approaches. You have your traditional ESBs, which is really designed for the transactional systems. You have your ETLs, where essentially you do batch type of processing. And data virtualization is more of a modern approach where you do need that agile approach. So instead of doing your ETL, you're essentially doing ELT, where you extract, load, and transform, which is much more agile, and also it enables you to grow the number of data sources you're integrating much more quickly than a traditional ESB would or traditional ETL product. So yes, I would recommend, especially when you have diverse systems, to go with the virtualization. However, it does not need to replace your existing data warehouses. It can reside on top of it, and you can slowly migrate and you can slowly move and change your infrastructure.
Okay, and how secure is data virtualization?
Well, we integrate, if you're doing on-prem, you can integrate with Active Directory. You would create multiple users roles to get access to the data. With the cloud environment, we integrate with the single sign-on or KIR or anything out, pretty much any cloud security out there. The key there is also we provide security when it comes to actual row and column-based actual field access. So for instance, you can have user Inessa come in and I will see social security with only last 4 digits, but Mark comes in and he doesn't see social security at all. So we provide very granular security model as well as we integrate with other security models out there.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Inessa. Any last minute comments for our audience?
Thank you everyone for joining. I apologize again for having a bit of the mic issues in the beginning.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, and thank you to John as well. This has been a fantastic webinar. I hope everyone has learned a lot, and thank you for attending our first webinar. For any questions that we didn't get to, we are going to send these questions to each of the speakers, and they can answer them in their own time, and we will send them along to you in our follow-up email. As well, in this email, we will have a survey for the webinar. please take the time to answer it. It's only going to take you a couple of minutes, and the feedback is very much appreciated. And we will be designing future webinars around the answers we get in those surveys. As well, for those who are interested, the recording of the webinar is going to be available sometimes next week. You can also access it on our website. We will have a recording up there. Again, thank you so much to everyone for joining us, and we hope we will see you next week on our second webinar taking place on Thursday, April 16th at 2 p.m., where we're going to be talking about AI deployment strategies and solutions.